Clara? Are you seriously leaving now? Maya's voice carried across the apartment, pulling Clara out of her baggy hoodie and exhaustion. I can't, Clara muttered, gripping the strap of her worn backpack. I'm broke, I'm tired, and her voice broke. Exactly why you need a reset, Maya interrupted, closing her laptop with a snap. 1 coffee, 1 hour. That's it. No strings. Clara groaned. And who am I meeting? Mr. Fancy Suit. Ethan. My cousin swears he's normal. Sweet. Grounded. Loves coffee, dogs, and jazz records. Basically, he's boring in all the right ways. You just show up. Clara hesitated, thinking of the empty fridge, overdue bills, and the loneliness that clawed at her chest. Yet something about Maya's hopeful grin made her sigh. Fine. 1 coffee. But I'm not smiling. The bell over Harbor and Hearth jingled as Clara stepped inside. Warm wood, soft amber lights, and the scent of roasted beans hit her instantly. She ordered the smallest latte, counting out her last $5 like it was a lifeline. Minutes passed. Her phone buzzed, a spam email. No messages. Her latte cooled untouched. Heart sinking, she tucked her purse under the table. Then she noticed him. Tall, broad-shouldered, white shirt under a dark apron, moving with a quiet confidence that didn't belong to a barista. Is everything all right? Do you need anything else? His voice was calm, warm, patient. Clara blinked. No, I'm fine. Inside, she wasn't. He could see it. Ethan Clark had been here before, but never like this. No investors, no press, no public face. Today he was just another barista, learning each cafe from the ground up. But seeing Clara sitting alone, still like she held the chaos of the world in her hands, something tightened in his chest. He noticed the latte. Single shot, extra foam. Comfort, not sweetness. Best choice on the menu, he said. You're way too confident for someone who smells like steamed milk, Clara replied, eyebrow raised. She almost smiled. Almost. You're new, she added softly. Is it that obvious? He gestured at the napkin dispenser turned backward. She chuckled, the tension in her shoulders loosening. They talked, softly, between the hum of the espresso machine. Coffee blends reminded her of long nights at the hospital. Lattes always made her feel a little safer. Ethan listened, never prying, sharing only what mattered. That some days it wasn't about fixing things, just having something to hold on to. Then the thump came. A woman collapsed near the window. Chaos. Shouts. Drop trays. Clara was already moving, automatic, precise. Ma'am, can you hear me? She checked pulse, lifted a wrist, calm as if the hospital were still around her. She's hypoglycemic. Clara called. Orange juice, fast. Ethan froze, watching. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice didn't falter. She moved before anyone else even realized. Minutes later, the woman stirred. Clara exhaled, standing with quiet authority. Ethan Clark had never been more certain of anything. He wanted to know her story. The next day, the cafe was quieter. Ethan wiped down the espresso machine, but couldn't stop thinking about her. He asked casually, but the baristas knew nothing. Just a nurse who had come in, sat alone, and vanished after helping someone. When Clara returned, just before noon, he almost dropped the milk pitcher. I just wanted to make sure the woman from yesterday is okay, she said. She's stable, he replied gently. Minor diabetic episode. County General. Relief washed over her face. She smiled faintly. Good. I couldn't stop thinking about her. He gestured to the counter. Can I get you something on the house? Maybe just tea, she said. He handed her the cup, their fingers brushing. Warm skin, rough hands. Something unspoken passed between them. I'm Clara, she said. Ethan, he replied. Silence fell, comfortable, companionable. Mind if I hang around a bit? Hour before my next shift, she asked. Be my guest, and I'll bring you something better than tea. She raised an eyebrow. Still owe me a decent latte. Every day after, Harbor and Hearth became a second home. Clara stopped in after shifts, and Ethan greeted her with new drinks. A cinnamon vanilla oat milk latte, hibiscus tea sweetened with honey and orange peel, even cocoa for broken nurses. Each drink was an unspoken conversation, a bridge. She told him about her mother, passing too fast, about debt, long oncology shifts, the weight of watching hope and despair collide. We're all holding broken things, she whispered once. Maybe it's not about fixing them, he said softly. Just learning to carry them better. And slowly, over coffee and quiet conversation, Clara Benson and Ethan Clark found a space where exhaustion met understanding, where the world softened enough for trust, curiosity, and maybe something like hope to grow. Clara Benson hugged her blanket tighter, the warmth of the tea seeping through her fingers. She let herself smile, a real one this time, small but genuine. That night, in the quiet of her apartment, she whispered to herself, "Am I falling for a barista with awful latte art and kind eyes? Or just for the first safe place I've found in years?" Her phone buzzed mid-afternoon the next day while she folded laundry. A message from Maya popped up. Isn't this the barista you've been low-key crushing on?" Attached was a link. Clara's curiosity outweighed her hesitation, and she clicked. The article made her heart skip. Harbor and Hearth Café CEO goes incognito as barista in new flagship location. Her stomach sank as the photo loaded. Ethan Clark, in a white button-up, holding a latte, smiling at baristas behind the very counter she had sat at for weeks. Her mind raced. He was the founder and CEO. She had trusted him, shared debts, exhaustion, grief, late nights. And he hadn't told her. Was it a trick? A game? The laundry slipped from her hands. She didn't cry. She curled up on the couch in silence, the tea beside her cooling untouched. The next morning, Clara didn't go to the cafe. Ethan noticed. The bell jingled, the espresso machine hummed, but she didn't appear. Day 2 passed the same. By the third morning, he knew. He had to find her. Rain soaked the city as Ethan stood outside the hospital's side entrance, hair plastered to his forehead, coat clinging wetly to his shoulders. His patience was a mix of worry and regret. Finally, Clara appeared, umbrella in hand, pale and weary from another double shift. "Wow," she said, stopping short. The CEO himself. "Did you come to offer me a job?" "No," he said simply. "I came to explain." "There's nothing to explain," she said, moving past him. "I was the fool who thought the barista with tired eyes liked me." "You weren't a fool," he said quietly, taking a step closer. "I didn't play a stunt. I started working shifts like that to escape the corporate noise, to feel something real again." She turned slowly, bitterness in her eyes. "Including me?" "No," he said, voice tightening. "You were the first person who didn't look at me like I was a title. You looked at me like I was just a person. One." She said nothing. Rain pelted her umbrella as silence stretched. Then his voice softened. "I had a brother, young, bright, sensitive. He hid his pain too well. One day he was gone. I built Harbor and Hearth after that. Work was safer than grief. But somewhere along the way, I lost myself. You helped me remember who I am again. You didn't care about my title. You listened. You showed up. That meant everything." Clara's lips trembled. She lowered the umbrella, letting rain hit her face. "I don't need you to be a barista," she said. "I know," he said gently. "I just needed you to be honest. And now you are." For the first time in days, the rain didn't feel cold. It washed the heaviness from her chest. Autumn arrived in soft light and crisp air. Clara carried white chrysanthemums, the anniversary of her mother's passing. For years, she had gone alone. But last night, in quiet conversation, she had told Ethan about the loss. He had asked softly, "Would you like some company?" She had nodded. He arrived punctually, wearing a gray sweater and jeans, hands in pockets, steady presence. Clara smiled faintly at him, and he held out the bouquet. Her breath caught as she saw the lilies, her mother's favorite. "How did you know?" she whispered. "I guessed," he said, lips curving. "Or maybe got lucky." She didn't ask further. They walked silently through the cemetery, the crunch of leaves underfoot, sunlight filtering gold through the trees. At the small headstone beneath a birch, Clara knelt, laid down the flowers, bowing her head. Ethan stayed a few steps back, giving her space. Wind rustled the branches above. When he finally crouched beside her, placing his bouquet next to hers, his voice was low but steady. "Thank you for raising someone who helped me understand love, really understand it." Clara turned sharply, surprised. There was no ceremony in his words, no performance. Just sincerity. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but they weren't grief this time. She didn't speak. Neither did he. The silence held what words could not. On the drive back, their hands hovered close on the console. No words were necessary. The quiet itself was comfort. Outside her apartment, Ethan said softly, "When you talk about your mom, I realize I've never loved anyone the way you loved her, but I think I'm learning." She leaned forward, wrapping her arms around him. "Not urgent. not romantic. Steady. Trust offered, not demanded. And in that moment, Ethan felt a door inside her open just enough to let someone in. A few days later, an envelope slipped under Clara's door. She opened it slowly. Inside, a letter from the Harbor and Hearth Foundation, honorary community nurse recognition for her quick, life-saving actions weeks prior. No mention of Ethan, no connection, just her courage and skill acknowledged. The ceremony was held in the cafe where it all began. Clara entered in a cream blouse and black trousers, hair neatly twisted, nerves barely contained. Candlelight flickered. Guests applauded as she walked up to receive her certificate. Tears pricked her eyes, but this time they were of recognition, not grief. She felt truly seen. After the crowd dispersed, she noticed Ethan behind the counter, apron on, sleeves rolled, quietly making espresso. She approached him, heels clicking against the wood floor. "Still pretending to work here?" she teased. "Not pretending," he said, smiling. "I still make terrible lattes." "You really do?" she said softly. "But you still drank them," he reminded her gently. "Because they were the sweetest thing I had left," she admitted. They stood together, a small world apart from everyone else. "I've been thinking about that day," he said quietly. "The way you acted. The way you moved without thinking of yourself. That's not something anyone can teach." "And I've been thinking about today," she replied, heart steady. "It's the first time in a long time something good happened to me. Not because someone felt sorry, but because someone saw me." "I never did," he said. A soft laugh escaped her lips. "I know. Recognition doesn't change what I feel," she added softly. "But it reminds me I'm more than what I've lost. And I hope it's not the last sweet thing you get," he said. "You offering to learn latte art?" "Offering," he said. "To try every day if that's enough." And in that cafe, where it had all begun, with bad latte art, a tired nurse, and a barista who was more than he seemed, something real began to brew. Weeks later, Ethan knelt behind the counter, ring in hand, note folded neatly. "Let's wake up to coffee and each other for the rest of our lives." Clara laughed through tears, nodded, and said yes. Their wedding was held in the garden behind the cafe's original location. Lanterns swung in the evening breeze. Clara's dress was simple white, hair pinned with lavender. Vows made friends and family cry. A year later, she opened a community wellness clinic sponsored by Harbor and Hearth. A wooden plaque on the desk read, "We don't ask how much you have, just how you're feeling." Ethan delivered her morning latte daily, still a little too foamy, still a little too hot, but made with care. And every sip reminded Clara that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest, sweetest changes in life.